Welcome everyone to part 2 of our lesson where we talk about how the internet works. And in this part we're going to be talking about the internet packages that internet service providers such as BT, such as Virgin Media offer to their users. Now there are a number of factors you should consider when you are looking to purchase some sort of package from an ISP. And the first one we're going to start off with by mentioning is the download limit right here. So most service providers, most internet service providers don't really put a limit on the amount of data that you can download through the internet, from the internet. But there are some packages out there which do put a restriction on it. And you need to be aware of this when you purchase your package, because if you are a person who downloads a lot from the internet, then having this limit on your service could mean that you are paying much more than you thought you would when the bill comes around. So the first factor that you need to consider when you are purchasing a internet package is the download limit right here. Now, if you are a person who doesn't use the internet to download a lot of things, and you might only use the internet for the occasional email or for checking articles online, reading academia, then having a download limit isn't a big problem. As a matter of fact, it could be considered an advantage because you're not paying a lot of money, you're not using a lot of data, and that is absolutely fine. You have to consider a lot of people who purchase a phone contract, and they have a contract or a service which is offered to them from their mobile provider, such as EE, for example, or it might be Vodafone. Then their 4G network might have a download limit. For example, it might be 20 gigabytes or 30 gigabytes in a month, and they have to keep a track of that, because if it goes over that limit, then obviously they will pay more money. In a lot of cases, much more money than they would expect. The next factor that we're going to consider is the speed at which the data comes to your phone or is uploaded from your phone. So with speed, we are looking at download speed and upload speed, like this. So the download speed is the speed at which the data comes to your phone, and the upload speed is the speed at which the data goes to the network from your phone. And these are measured in megabits, so you have to know this is not megabytes, this is megabits per second, like so. And obviously with different packages, which we're going to look at the next slide, you get a variety of different speeds which are offered to users by internet service providers. If you don't want a high speed because you don't want to pay a lot of money, then you can get a package which has a lower speed and a lower price on a monthly basis. Most of the time, again, as you will see in the next slide, it's more of an advantage for you to go with a middle package, sort of a middle speed, not too slow but not too fast, because to be perfectly honest, not a lot of us would fully utilize speeds such as 200 or 300 megabits per second. We just don't live those sort of lives, or we don't have those sort of uses for a speed like that, unless you are, for example, utilizing a lot of hardware on a network, or you're maybe downloading large amounts of data, or for example you're playing online. But even with those tasks, an average sort of middle speed would be just fine. The next factor we're going to look at is the price of the package. Obviously in the UK here, we look at that using the pound symbol or the pound currency, but it's the same everywhere in the world. You have to pay a certain price for a service that is offered to you, and if that price is something that you agree with, that you are happy with, then you can get that package, you can pay that monthly price. Sometimes after the contract ends, the price does go up, and that is usually to force you into purchasing another contract. But that's not a problem, because you do use the internet for for a long time, and if you feel comfortable getting into another contract, it's not a problem at all. Which brings us into the next factor, the length of the contract. Now these vary. Usually you will see a 12-month contract, an 18-month contract, or a 20-month contract. If you get a contract which is 12 months, it will probably be a little bit more expensive than the one at the 24 months. Even if the package has the same deals, the same factors, the one at 12 months will probably be just a little bit more expensive, because they know they have you only for a short amount of time, so they want to maximize on their profit. If you get a contract which is 24 months, they are more comfortable to lower the price, because they know they have you for a longer amount of time. So this is something else that you need to think about when you are purchasing an internet contract, a service. Are you going to be using it for a long amount of time, or are you only going to use the service for a short amount of time? Because if you get the service for 24 months and you only live at that certain address for 12 months and you move away somewhere far and you want to cancel your contract, well, they will give you issues with that, because they know you've made a contract with them and they want to get paid for 24 months. So you have to take into consideration how long you want the contract to be for. The next factor, and this isn't such a big issue, but some people do like to think about this or consider it when they are getting an internet service package, is the router which is provided to them. Do they get to keep it at the end of the contract, or is it something that they have to return? So that's one thing. The second thing regarding the router is the user allowed to use their own router, which they can purchase, over the router which the internet service provider has given them? Now, that second point is more important than the first one, because some users might like to purchase a router which is more efficient and has more power behind it to use at home, but the internet service provider might not allow them to do that because of a number of reasons. One of them being that they may need to constantly send updates to the router, and they would very much like for that router to be their own one, which they are familiar with, and they have a system which communicates with it better. So, keeping the router or using your own router might be something to consider, but for the most part, it's not a big issue. The routers that the internet service providers do send to your home are more than capable of providing you with an internet service, and whether you keep them or you don't, it's not that much of a big deal. But it could be to some people, and it's something for you to consider if in the future you would like to get an internet package. Now, the next point here is the service reviews, and this is something that I strongly recommend when you are thinking about getting an internet package or an internet service, that you go online and read the reviews that have been written about the service of this company. So it could be that you're interested in a very good deal from a certain company, but when you go online, you see that the users of this company, the customers of this company, are not happy with them because their speeds are constantly very low. It could be that internet service is down for weeks at a time and they don't fix it. I mean, that is obviously in a very extreme case, but it could happen. So you do need to read reviews online whether the service that this company provides is good for you. The next factor that we need to think about is the coverage area. So most of the big companies like BT and Virgin Media usually cover most of the UK, most definitely the big cities. But there may be some areas which these companies have not been set up to provide internet service for. So what they usually do is, if you go to their website, they allow you to enter your postcode and or your phone number, your telephone number at home, and they will tell you, they will inform you on their website as soon as you enter the postcode whether they actually offer an internet package to your address. So even though an internet company like BT, or let's use Virgin Media as an example, might provide a service to London, your address in London might not be wired to receive signals from Virgin Media for broadband. So that is something that you cannot get. Even if a deal from Virgin Media seems very good to you and it has ticked all the boxes before the coverage, unfortunately there's nothing you can do until Virgin Media actually installs all the cabling so that they can reach your address. So coverage is something that you need to think about. This obviously applies to mobile phones as well. If you want to get a contract with EE, for example, then you need to think about whether EE actually offers 4G in a certain area. For example, if you live outside of London, definitely in some very rural areas, then the signal from EE might not be as strong as it is in London. So you need to think about whether that is something for you. The next thing, which kind of links with the service reviews, but this is customer service, is that if you do have an issue with your internet package, if there are some problems like the speed not being high enough, or there may be problems with the bill, you might have been overcharged with something, or the internet connection has gone down and there's no information about how it's being fixed, and you need to get some sort of customer support, you also need to think about whether the customer service of this company is good enough for you and whether you want to deal with their system of help. So that's pretty much most of the factors that you need to think about when you are purchasing an internet package from an ISP. All right, next slide, we're going to be looking at some of these packages from these companies. So we're going to be looking at 3 companies in particular. So this is BT, this is Virgin Media, and this is Zen Internet. Now this information was taken from their website, and it might change when you're watching this video in the future, but the date when I took this information was the 22nd of February 2021. Now I've taken 2 pieces of information. So I've taken package 1 and package 2, which basically means I've taken one from the lower end of their deals and one from their higher ends. There are other packages on their pages. They are not limited to just these 2, but I sort of went with one lower end and one higher end, more expensive package that they have. Now, when you're considering purchasing one of these services, this information becomes very useful because you can compare it and then make an overall decision with who you would like to go with. For example, if we have a look at package 1 for Virgin Media, we can see that the price for this package is much cheaper than the price for the other two packages. So on that factor alone, the Virgin Media package 1 wins. But if we have a look at the speeds that are offered to us, we can see that they actually have the lowest, and that's not a problem right now, because obviously lowest price should mean lowest speed as well. But we should notice that there is a large difference between package 1 for Virgin Media and package 1 for Zen Internet. And if you are willing to pay a little bit more, then you can potentially get a lot more speed out of this package 1 from Zen Internet than the Virgin Media one, for example. But if we look at the one from BT, then we can see that their package isn't that much faster than the one from Virgin Media. Then we can see that it is £9 more expensive than the one from Virgin Media, even though it is not that much more faster. As a matter of fact, their upload speed is much slower than the one from Virgin Media. Another benefit to the Zen package is the fact that they only offer this for a 12-month contract. So they don't lock you into a contract for a long amount of time. And you can go with another service provider if you're not happy after 12 months. But if you go with the Virgin Media one, well, you are locked into that contract for 24 months. And you need to think about the fact that if you're not happy with this company, then you are kind of stuck with them for 2 years, which is quite a long time away. All right. Now, after you are done analyzing these companies with these main points, then you can of course go back and also look at the different factors which we mentioned in slide 1 for these two companies, or for these three companies. Okay, so this is how you would compare packages that offer you internet services. You need to think about all of these factors because you want the best deal for yourself. Now, of course, if you are a person who doesn't use the internet for large amounts of data that require large amounts of speed, then of course package 1 for Virgin Media currently seems like the best one because they are just the cheapest. So every user will have their needs, and there are plenty of packages that are offered by ISPs which meet the needs of all of those users. You just need to consider which one is the best for yourself.